Hi, welcome to Groovehound Studio. Today I'm going to be introducing a new series called Page by Page. Today we're going to be looking at Gavin Harrison's book, Rhythmic Illusions, and going through page 11, showing you 8th note and 16th note beat displacement. Beat displacement is basically moving a rhythm or a pattern, such as a drum set beat, forward or backwards, depending on how much you want to move it. Sometimes it's an 8th note, which will be the first example, and then the examples after that will be a 16th note. First, I'd like to thank a few companies that have been with me for a long time. Yamaha drums, Heartbeat cymbals, Los Cabos drumsticks, Aquarian drum heads, Heil microphones, and the company that ties it all together, Jansen Brothers Music in Winkler, Manitoba. Thank you guys. So you're going to need a few things to follow along in this lesson. You're going to need the book, Rhythmic Illusions by Gavin Harrison, put out by Warner Brothers Publications, a metronome, and the ability to read. I don't go through the displacement toolbox that he has on page 10 in his book. I'm going to let you go through that. Probably with a practice pad and a metronome would be the best way of going through that. And I'm assuming that you can already read so that these things are not going to be brand new to you. If you're a new drummer, this material is not very usable for you. I'll be straight up honest with you. This is a very specific sort of a tool to use to create tension and release in music. The genres that would really benefit from displacement would be genres like fusion, modern jazz, funk, some types of metal. Chances are you're not going to be playing it in pop, country, folk, church music, anything where the lyrics are the thing that are supposed to be the most important in the song. So I'm going to start off by playing example 1 on page 11. It's a simple rock beat that's moved forward 1/8 note. I'm going to be playing this example at 80 beats a minute. So looking at example 1, you can see that I played 2 measures of a simple rock beat, and then I moved everything, the kick and the snare, over 1/8 note, but not the hi-hat. The hi-hat stayed playing 8th notes, because if you took an 8th note hi-hat pattern and moved it forward 1/8 note, nothing changes. But with the kick and the snare, something definitely changes, and there's a lot of tension when I move it forward. And when I go back to the original beat, that's the release. So there is tension moving it forward or backwards, and then the release going back to what Gavin calls the A status. Now, the A status is what you will typically hear or what your ear will want to hear. And the B status is when I move the beat over. Okay, so if I refer to A status and B status, that's what I mean. Now I'm going to take the same beat and I'm going to move it backwards 1/8 note. Now you'll notice on example 2A that when you move something that's on beat 1, it moves it to the and of 4. So it's like it's on the whole beat's on a roller, and it just moves backwards or forwards. And so your bass drum is going to end up on the and of 4 that is normally on beat 1. Okay, so there's your first displacement. It's an 8th note displacement. I moved a simple beat forward and backwards. The next displacement is a 16th note displacement, and it's quite a bit more challenging because the entire beat moves from one and to E-ah, okay, the entire time. So this one is a bit more challenging. In order to actually conceptualize it and to hear what I'm going to be doing, you'll need to count 16th notes even while you're in the A status, and obviously while you're in the B status as well. Again, I'm going to be playing this at 80 beats a minute. Okay, so that's the first displacement, and I moved the same beat that I moved an 8th note before. I moved that now a 16th note forward. Okay, now I'm going to take, again, the same beat, and I'm going to move it backwards 1/16th note. Again, just like on the 8th note displacement, when you have a bass drum on beat 1 and you move it backwards, it rolls it around to the end of the bar. So now, instead of my bass drum going from 1 to the end of 4, now it's going to be going from 1 to the ah of 4. And so going back into the A status from the B status, I'm going to be playing 2 bass drums, one on the ah of 4 and one on the 1. So it's going to go, okay? So that's going to be how that transitions from the B status into the A status. So like I said, this doesn't have applications in a lot of the music that you would hear on the radio, and maybe any of the stuff that you'll ever hear on the radio, except for maybe university stations. However, if you're interested in kind of toying with people's perspectives on where the rhythm is or where the time is, this is kind of a nice thing to add to your toolbox. And what it also does is it makes you very aware of the time. Your job as a drummer is to play really, really good time so that everybody else can lean up their time against yours. You're the backbone of the band. This isn't a tool that you'll use a lot, but it is a very interesting tool. And if you just want to try something different and you kind of are in a rut and you're just kind of bored with what you're doing, this might be something to investigate because it is very interesting, and you'll find that you get some very creative ideas from this tool. Thanks for joining me on Groovehound Studio. Please join me again for the next lesson on Page by Page.